Okay. So, saw this on Twitter, the sheet with Jeff Merrick, talking about potential landing spots for a New York Ranger pending free agent, Artemi Panarin. He have 40-goal season a couple years ago, often in the 30s, a little bit older, 34, pending free agent. Where might he end up? There was some speculation. And here's what Pierre Maguire said on the sheet with Jeff Merrick. Well. How do you feel about this? Aging, but,
He's 34, Panarin is. Unless, I don't know, is he now 35? He's 34, won't be 35 until October. He's still playing at a very high level. He's got 56 points in the 49 games. He had 89 points last year and 37 goals. And he'd be great to put on one of the top two lines. The problem with it is that he's a free agent at the end of the year. He's a guy who's making $11.6 million for this year. So even though it's prorated, I think that actually helps the Red Wings because they're one of the teams that can actually afford to take that on. But is the price going to be sky high? Because he's better than a quality player. This is an all-star type player. And are they going to ask for too much for a rental? And again, this gets back to the whole rental thing. And I'd love to get him. I mean, just as a player, absolutely. Offensive minded. He's 2 years removed from having 120 points in the season, including 49 goals. I think he'd slide right in on either of those top two lines the Red Wings have, and he'd do a great job.
Would he need to agree to terms on a new contract with Detroit?
Well, and as a 34-year-old, going to be 35 when the season starts next year, I mean,
sketch.
Do you want to give him $11 million again and give a 3-year, $33 million deal, or is this something that like you're just looking at as the rental, or if you can extend him, would it be for something that makes more sense? I mean, like I said, he's still producing, and he's 34. He's not 38.
No, but he's probably going to produce less and less moving forward.
You would imagine.
You don't want to pay him for what he did.
No, but I mean, since the 21-22 season, he had 96 points that year. The following year, 92 points. The following year, 120 points. Then 89 points last year, and he's on pace this year for roughly 90-something points, 92 points. He's been remarkably consistent over the last 5 seasons, including this one.
Kenny, would you pull the trigger on a trade for Artemi Panarin?
I would, yeah. I feel like he'd be a good middle six forward. In terms of contract, too, if you wanted to re-sign him, I have zero interest in an $11 million deal.
Yeah.
I have zero interest in a $10 million deal. I have zero interest in a $9 million deal.
I have zero interest in anything more than 3 years.
I agree with that completely. And I feel like, though, the sticking point with Steve Yzerman, when we talked about Rasmus Anderson, it's term. So I feel like if they were to trade for him, there would be a number attached to it with term that is like a sign and trade type of a deal.
So the other name, and we saw this, I think it's Hockey Rumors is on Twitter, where they quote Frank Saravelli regarding Elias Pettersson. I think Detroit have got the wherewithal and future pieces, most important, to make it make sense for the Canucks. They also have cap flexibility. Then David Pagnotta says regarding the Red Wings, they're looking at a D, top 4 quality guy, and then the same time they've been looking for extra firepower up front. It's clear Detroit is active. So whether it's Pettersson, whether it's Panarin, or anybody else, it feels like this might be the year that we see Steve Yzerman give it some gas. Question is how much? There's a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more rumblings here. Now, maybe it's because the Olympic break's coming and there's expedited trade talks, but
yeah, and I don't think Steve Yzerman wants to go through what they went through last year, which was obviously they were stumbling into the trade deadline. They didn't make moves, and then you hear disappointment from the players, and specifically Dylan Larkin was disappointed that it didn't make something happen, and Yzerman fired back a little bit in the offseason, and okay, but that you can't take that away. That was said last year, right? From both parties, both Eisman and Larkin. So I think that there's an understanding that you guys got to be better. Okay, they're better now. They're one of the top teams in all of hockey, let alone the Eastern Conference and certainly in their division. They're playing great right now. So why not make a move before the Olympic break so that you hit that break you've already made your moves. You're ready to go. So that you're ready for the munch of Marth, as we say, right? As opposed to waiting for, that month to start going and then waiting to the last second of the trade deadline. What you don't know with Pettersson is, okay, he's coming off. There's a couple of years here in a row now where he hasn't put up great numbers in Vancouver. Last year played 64 games, had 15 goals and 45 points. This year he's played 41 games, half the season, and he's got 29 points and only 13 goals. But it's a higher goal pace than what he had last year. But the point totals have gone down significantly. When you look at the 23-24 season, he had 89 points. The year prior to that, he had 39 goals and 102 points, and that's why he got this giant contract, which goes on for like 6 more years. I would imagine that if the Red Wings are interested, if you're going to take on a guy that's going to make almost $12 million a year for the next 6 years, I think that you're either asking Vancouver to pay for some of that, or that the asking price, maybe it doesn't need to be as high because you're doing somebody else a solid by getting rid of the contract.
So Max Bultman just did an updated, Red Wings prospects, like checking in on the Red Wings prospects.
With The Athletic?
Yeah. And Nate Danielson's still listed as number 1. Am I wrong for not being excited about Nate Danielson? Should I be more excited about Nate Danielson? Because I'm really not. And if he's still their number 1 prospect, I wouldn't blink to move him.
I like Nate Danielson because he's a two-way player, but the offensive upside, we haven't seen as much of that. When he was here with the Red Wings, he'll be up and down unless they move him. I don't mind moving a player to get somebody, particularly somebody who's not in the lineup, right? These are prospects again, and when the time is right to move prospects for players, you got to do it. And I think the time is getting to be right.
Here's what Bultman just wrote. The question is consistency of his production, and that showed up in his 28 games with the Red Wings earlier this year, in which he had 7 points. He also hasn't really dominated since getting back to Grand Rapids either. Though some transition time is fair to expect. He's just 21, so there's a lot of runway left, but Donaldson should be a solid middle 6. Danielson, should be a solid middle 6 center as his floor. Kenny, am I wrong?
I don't know that you're wrong. I'm just wondering why he's still number 1. I mean, like, Sebastian Coase has been putting up amazing numbers. He's been doing incredible things with the AHL. So
he's number 5.
He's number 5
behind Trey Augustine.
I haven't seen this list, so I'm coming into this blind. But am I wrong for thinking that's crazy?
I think it's a little crazy given the year he's had so far. But
and by the way, I like Max. Max,
let's be clear here.
Work.
I don't know that they've updated the rankings. This might be taking who they were and just
I think the other thing to keep in mind with the numbers that Seabass has put up down there is that every goaltender that plays there puts up the same numbers. Like they've done amazingly well. They've lost like 2 games. Grand Rapids has. They've been great. I imagine Brandzik Nygaard is probably number 2 in the system, and then pick your Carter for number 3 there. But they do have players they could move. I'm not so sure that the better move isn't to go for a defenseman as opposed to a forward. I think the reason the Red Wings have played so well, and you look at what Gibson has done, and he's won 15 of his last 17 starts, and he's been the best goaltender in hockey during that stretch. The defense in front of him got better, and then he got better. I'd like to get better defensively, and if you can find somebody that would slide in to be a top 4 defenseman, that's a move I would prefer to make, and hopefully it's somebody that you can sign long-term and not just a rental.
And in fairness to Gibson, he is playing above league average. He is playing league average goals against, I think, is like 9 or 899 or 898 or something like save percentage. So like he's like 902, 903 somewhere
on the season.
On the season.
But during this stretch of the last 17 games, which the first 16 games was last 17 games,
incredible.
He's been great. Yeah, that number is like 920 or 925, somewhere up in that range.
All right, 248-539-9797 if you want to keep talking some Red Wings hockey. In the meantime, the best team in the Eastern Conference of the NBA just beat the Celtics last night. 1-point game down at LCA while the national championship game was going on. Another key resume win for the Detroit Pistons, who are, I think the world is starting to accept that the Pistons are indeed for real in Detroit. Hey, man, this has been an enthusiastic fan base to get behind this group for some time.
Well, when you get Cade Cunningham named a starter in the All-Star game, I think that says something.
We will get to some Piston discussions straight ahead.